You're not coming out here.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
I can see you.
I know, but the point was for both of us.
I
Let
can
me
leave
see.
and come back.
Let me see.
Let me see. Let me look. Oh yeah, I don't see myself on there. Oh, there I am.
There you go. We fixed it up a little bit. I don't know. We got some people pouring in, coming in, trickling in. So
I don't know if
yeah,
anybody's noticed the beard's gone.
yeah. Actually, I was gonna say it, but I know some people, don't like to cause too much attention to that. So I didn't say anything. So it knocked back at least a couple of years, man. I would say about 5, 7 years.
Yeah, yeah, it does, man. It I'll start getting
My,
carded
my
again.
I was actually kind of not disappointed, but I guess I was kind of offended. The other day, I was buying alcohol, a bottle of wine, and at Walmart, well, there's a little thing that comes out is customer over 40. And so the attendant comes. It's a younger, a girl there that's covering the self checkout or what have you, and they didn't even card me or anything. Just yeah, customer looks over 40, and I was like, damn, I haven't hit 40 yet. I was a little offended by that one. I was a little offended. I'm not
You
gonna
have to get
lie.
you have to get rid of the beard, man.
Oh man, I don't know what. I'll be honest. I think since I got out of high school, I had a goatee, and I had it for the longest time, and it was just one of these things, not the mustache part, but just the bottom. And I had
Yep.
it for so long, years, and that developed into getting the full beard, and I just kept it. Like I cannot remember the last time I completely shaved my face. I don't even know if I know how to remember how to completely shave some parts of my face without cutting myself, man. That's how long it's been.
Yeah, you get the profile picture up there. It's like clean cut almost. You know, it's
Oh yeah, and those,
styled goatee.
I attribute to the great barbers that we have here locally. They do a great job. I'd rather trust them with my own beard, because usually if I get into doing it myself, something is, lines don't line up the way they should. There's a reason why I'm not an artist, so why try to mess with my appearance, right?
Yeah,
At
we've
least
all
that's
tried
the way I
to.
think.
We've all tried to tame our beards and stuff. I tried to, and it's not the same, especially when someone's looking on the other side. So
Hmm.
it is what it is.
Absolutely. So we got a couple of people on, and we appreciate that. One thing I'll ask you guys, if you can, please share. We're doing a little
Yes.
something different today. We are on the Ruiz Beast Podcast. We actually have a special guest host, Mr. Ruben Camarillo. Of course, you guys know him most recently as a candidate for a city council place 3, and also locally, has his own podcast that is steadily gathering its strong following as well. So, guys, we wanted to do a little role reversal. I know I've been kind of, I guess protesting, or throwing myself in there, like, hey, somebody needs to interview me. And local media here, God bless them. You gotta love them, because you gotta love them. But they're not going to sit down and have this kind of talk with me. So I appreciate you taking time. I know this content creation thing is not anything that is quick, fast, even on a live, it's time consuming. So I appreciate you hopping on here and playing the special guest host on the Ruiz Beast podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Yeah, you know what? I mean, it's hey, political season's over, so maybe the packages that the local media has will change. I don't know. It won't be so expensive. So, I mean,
Jab number one.
yeah, man. Yeah,
And
well,
this wasn't going to be a political a theme, but
no, of course not. Yeah, yeah, no.
things get thrown out there, they will get thrown out there. You know
Oh yeah,
how
of
we
course.
do.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Now the packages, who knows what kind of package it'll have? Maybe it'll be cheaper. Who knows? So,
yeah, I mean, I've heard some ridiculous numbers. I do think they fluctuate with the time. One of the things that I will say, and it might be in my defense as well, being the underdog here, is that you look at some of these medias and they have very impressive followings. They have 100,000, over 100,000 probably by now, some of them, and I do want to congratulate them because that is not an easy feat, by no means. But one of the things I do want to point out is that I don't want to say the majority, but I would say a strong percentage of them are not vested in the community, or at least not a part of the community. Maybe the surroundings, because I do know that they have several followers, hundreds of thousands. There's not 100,000 people here. Maybe there is close to some, right? If you're
yeah,
counting the people that are undocumented now coming in, but that's one thing I did want to say. And either way, getting to that kind of number of following on Facebook, without having your page knocked down once, twice, six times, wow, props to them. I would say that.
oh yeah. That's why I'm so glad again that the political season's over. I'm no longer a candidate, so now I can speak freely and not have to watch what I say. I mean, I'm pretty sure I got to watch what I say, but nothing. It's going to be unfiltered from here on out. I mean, I'm just going to say, when I first came here, and I thought about the media, like I was like, oh my god, the Gram and the Business Journal, like, oh man, they're all so great, and EPTXN, they cover everything. I mean, if I was a journalist, I'd be chopping at the bit to find out who's running for anything.
Mhm.
Like, who are you? Who is this guy? Let's cover him. Let's get him. And as a candidate now, it's just like, well, hold on a second. Hold up. Don't start filming this guy unless he bought a package. All right. Don't start. Don't even look this guy's way yet.
So they, um, I'm trying to find the correct wording here to word it to everybody. That way they understand. Because I know I tend to sometimes talk in a certain way where it may not be understandable, or at least I understand. There you go. Enjoying a nice little alcoholic beverage.
It's Miller time. Yeah, that's right.
I'm glad it's not a Bud Light. I will say that. I'm glad it's not a Bud Light.
No.
Anyways, margarita to go. Absolutely.
Right
But so these media guys, and I'm just going to say in general, right? I'm not going to poke on anybody.
Right.
So it was time. It was kind of not a, hey, let's give you at least what's up or this, or try to give you some coverage. It was directly into, we're not going to show you at all if there is no compensation, straight out.
No, not necessarily. I mean, the Business Journal, I did speak to them, and they did give me like a 2-minute video. And I know we talked about this. It was a really what's the word for it? I want to say it, but I don't. It was half-assed. Okay, it was a half-assed 2-minute video.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I know it's free, and people are gonna be like, Ruben, well, why is this guy bitching? He got 2 minutes. No, I didn't. I got a minute and like 20 seconds, and I didn't get my full name out. So I mean, was I upset about it? Not really. It was expected. It was free, but I that's just something I didn't expect. But I didn't get any phone calls. I didn't get any offers. Everybody knows I have a Facebook platform. Nobody offered and said, hey, I had to call them. And that's the truth.
Would it be a fair statement to say that you were kind of shunned out a little bit? Is that how you felt?
Yeah,
Again,
I
I
do.
bring it up because of obviously you're new to our community, want to better our community. I mean, not so new, right? But you weren't born and raised here, but do
Right.
you feel that had kind of some of an effect that people weren't willing to approach you, or was it coming from a, a standpoint of your beliefs type of thing? Because or what, or was it a two-way part of that?
Absolutely. I'd have to say no. It just felt like nobody wanted to approach me. I had to chase them down. Like I said, I've never heard of that. I've never heard about that. Me chasing the media down. Hey, you want to cover me? I'm running for city council. No, I mean, and you know what? I'm sorry if people get offended, and I know that I said I was going to calm down a little bit with the whole calling people out thing, but for example, Mr. Daniel Ramos from APTXN, I called him, and he offered me a ridiculous package that he wasn't offering anybody else, and then he wouldn't even look at me. Like, I mean, you can say hi to me, man. I'm not gonna bite you. Like, if you don't want to cover me, that's fine. I was doing it on my own platform, and of course, thank you to the Maverick Times who actually did cover for me. Um,
Absolutely.
you guys were the ones who approached me, and that was great. But other than that, people can at least keep offering. Hey, we know you're running for city council, so would you like a package, or let's do this. No, I had to call them, and that's. I mean, I guess that's the way things are here. But we all know, it's the favoritism, man. It's if
So
if you don't want to take their package, that's cool. We got this guy that we're covering. We got the other two candidates we're covering. We don't need to cover this guy. It's all good. That's just my opinion. If anybody gets mad at it, or if nobody likes it, that's just the way I feel. I'm not gonna
so you
keep it
would say
quiet.
it's intentional.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. In my opinion, it felt intentional because nobody really made an effort. Nobody really made an effort uh, to cover me. And I'll point this out that I totally shut my mouth on because I didn't. It was already coming up on the final election day. There was really no point in making a big deal about it. But I believe the Business Journal had taken a picture of everybody. Uh, of me, Sandy, Ana Herrera. Of course they took a picture of Mr. Lopez because I'm sure he had a package with them.
Mm.
And then I guess they posted it again, and then I saw they took me out of the post, and I was just like,
They opted out,
yeah,
or
no, yeah, they posted on Facebook, hey, these are the candidates, election day is coming up. Then they took me out. I saw it, and my,
oh
my
wow.
wife actually my wife actually spotted it. She's like, hey, they took you out of the post. After I was like, thank you, Eagle Pass Business Journal, for just letting everybody know I exist. That's all I asked for. I never asked for an interview or, hey, make a big deal out of me. Just let people know that I'm here. That's it. You don't have to. I mean, you don't have to make a big deal. So she told me about it, and I was like, wow. So she made a comment. I don't know. I guess she commented and said, hey, you took Mr. Camarillo out. What happened? And then they took and then they took Sandy out. So that was like, see what you did. I tell my wife, now you're having them take everybody out. So until it was just Billy Davis and Mario Garcia and Mr. Lopez. That was it. The only three, the big three. So I
that
mean,
they had,
it's
that they had posted. So they actually altered the photo
yes,
to
yeah. They just
po-
took they didn't alter the photo. They altered the post. They just took me out. They just took the picture out because they took pictures of us separate of us by our tents. And I know because Miss Selena Calderon was the one who asked me, hey, can I take a picture? Sure, of course. And so, yeah, they posted us the first time. And then I guess she posted us the second time. But this time they're like, oops, oh, wait a minute, hold on, don't put him back in there, take him out. So they took my picture out, and then they took Sandy's picture out, and then I don't know what happened to Anna's picture. She, I guess, never got put on there. So I mean, look, if you're gonna opt somebody out, don't make it so obvious. I mean, you messed up, just leave me on there. That's not gonna make me win the race because you had my picture on there.
Well, it's just so amazing, Ruben. I mean, I know you see me over there, and I'm laughing my ass off here. I mean, no, and this is coming from somebody that has heard the ridiculous fucking things that people do here, right? Media as well. I'll say that. No specific, but to go as far as to
Yeah.
take a photo and crop you out of a photo so you won't come out in it.
No, they didn't even crop. No, they didn't crop it out. They just took my photo out. Like, you know how you make a post on Facebook and you just put separate pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So they had already posted my picture, and then they went, oops, and they just took my picture out, and then it was just them three. I mean, it's okay. I get it. I understand. I didn't pay for that exposure, but you got to make it so obvious. I think there's so many things that I would love to talk about that they make so obvious. Because now I can. I don't have to. I'm not running for a political position. I can, just point it out, and I'll make one example. For example, our vote haulers. If you're gonna vote haul, don't make it so. I mean, it's legal. It's legal. It's not illegal. As long as you're not paying the voter, we get it. But at the end of the day, the vote hauler jumps out of the car with her Mario Garcia shirt on, like, hey, like. I was just like, and we're like, everybody was like, we know, okay, we already knew. There's no surprise
Now,
who you're vote hauling for. So,
and I know we weren't going to get into the political realm, but
no, yeah.
how is it that we, as just people in general, now, I'm not even going to say we, people in general that are tired of the situation that is going on, right? I mean, it's obvious. We had a voter turnout that went from near 5,000, dropped down all the way down to what, 1,300?
That was terrible.
It's a significant drop in 2 years.
Yeah, that was
significant. So there was absolutely no interest in this race. I mean, unfortunately, that's what the numbers show. There was no
and I think that's what kind of broke my heart the most. I really wasn't. I mean, I was smiling, I was laughing, and everything. Even when I knew that I knew that I wasn't going to win at that point when we were there in front of the courthouse. It was obvious, but. Again, obvious. Billy had like 1,000 votes and Sandy only like 200. This guy Mr. Garcia had 800 and I was like 150.
There was a mathematical there was a mathematical chance that if the right votes came in on that day, on election day, that one of the three other candidates could have got into the percentage where he wasn't going to get it. In other words, he didn't win it outright with early voting.
Right. Yeah.
Billy Davis did. He won it right out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that after absentee voting, maybe many would have projected Mr. Garcia to win. Ultimately, he did, but it wasn't without its challenge either. Obviously, the strong candidate in the whole election here, in my opinion, was Mr. Billy Davis. And I mean, whatever it was, I do give credit where credit is due. If you can bring out that number of people, no matter how you do it, you bring them out. So, hats off to him for doing, he would have won any race he would have gotten into.
Oh, so, exactly.
Congratulations to him on that. And it's just there was no interest. That's just what it was.
Yeah, and again, I'm I just want to say I am happy for the 150 votes I got, 153. That I'm going to remember that I had 150 votes. And somebody cared. That's what shows. But all my rambling and all my bitching on the internet and calling people out and stuff, which was a path that I took, thinking that
Not an easy one.
people. Yeah, no, it's not an easy one. I took the path and hoping that would wake someone up, and people still slept. So that's the proverbial crow that you have to eat. It's the way it is, man. And I've actually gotten some feedback, and I know we keep saying that we're not going to talk about the political thing, and it's okay to talk about
There's no
the
problem if it comes
experience.
back. It's no
Yeah,
problem.
it's okay to talk about my experience. I mean, it's I had some feedback, and a lot of folks were telling me, "Hey, I loved your campaign. The only problem is that you were calling too many people out, and I think it's not the way you should politic in Eagle Pass." And I think they're right, but again, that was my experiment. I wanted to see how many people I could wake up, and apparently, I only woke up 150 people. So
Well,
it
I mean,
sucks.
I wouldn't, necessarily call that just 150 people. I mean,
Right?
if you
Yeah,
think
you're right.
about it, it's it's a thing that it's relatively new, being challenged the way the establishment is being challenged. I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. Typically, it's two political factions that maybe a third smaller one in there or so that are actually fighting each other at the biggest level, or at the you know uh, I guess our big level in our community, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
you have that war, and that line's been divided. One of the sides seems to be conquered, or at least heavily damaged right now, and the ones in place are chomping at the bits and taking advantage, and really riding that change platform, because that was a good platform that has been utilized. I think it's coming to a point where you can only use that platform for so long, and change. Um, the thing with change is that people will not recognize it unless it's tangible, and that's just the facts of life. People don't. The majority of us are visualizers, and we have to see the progress, or see the change, or see what's happening. And most of us would rather, and that's why I there's very few that do come out from the community that are willing to stand up, because everybody has seen the situations that I've gone through. And that's why I think, I applaud you. And I know how you say you call the feedback of you calling out people. And I get that. We just saw a county judge race where that's all there was
Yeah.
mudslinging, So, I mean, I'm not gonna, I don't know who gave you that feedback, and it's always good to get feedback, but I think that that's kind of an unfair assessment, being taking relative history or current history just out the door, and what was going on with the Salcedo campaign and everything, where a man who is now our county judge, he was ridiculed for if you take out the Eagle Pass news leader, and what the Eagle Pass news leader attempted to do to the man's character. Now, I mean, I know I have my beefs. I know I have my battles, what to speak, and it's gotten dirty as well, and it's gone cheap, and it's gone petty, and eventually we're gonna have to get past that as human beings, right?
Yeah, of
but
course.
they the way they tore into a man, and took cheap shots to where what happens behind any kind of closed door in private setting is that right,
Oh yeah.
other than what's in a police report. But and I think you follow politics relatively good
I
on.
try.
So I'm not sure if you remember the post I'm talking about, that they the news leader came out and accusing our current judge of, like, different, he does this, he does that, he does this, personal things, and I've been critical of several people here as well, especially when they're so public about their beliefs and the way they can influence children and other people. And I think that there's certain things that should be influential and should be passed along, and there's other things that is a personal choice and should be kept at home, or to yourself, because that is your personal choice, not any others. um Moving along from that.
Well,
um
before you move on, I mean, you're right. Uh, I when I was working those elections, man, Mr. Salcedo came in to vote. He had his family with him, his kids and his wife. As soon as he walks out, you just hear people boo. They were booing that man. It's like, come on, the man's with his family. I get it. It's politics. The man's with his family coming in to vote, man. I mean, regardless of what you think of the guy, it may be funny and all, but like, I mean, and I think I saw Judge Ramsey out there. He was just like, shh, like, stop. It's it's crazy, man.
Judge Ramsey, fair assessment. He's always been a classy type of
Oh
guy.
yeah,
He's always been a classy type of guy.
yeah.
He knows he won convincingly, so he's not trying to rub or anything like
No, of
that.
course
I
not.
think that
Yeah,
the work that he's doing now is definitely showing that that's enough rub on the face that all that he has to do,
yeah,
really,
and
right? But
absolutely. And he has an open door policy, and I've used it, and he's approachable. That's what I love about Judge Ramsey, is that he's willing to talk to you. So I'll make an appointment.
he's been like that since he was with the city, man. When I worked there,
Yeah, and
he was
he talks to
10
you.
years as a mayor, and that's how it
Yeah,
was.
he talks to you, and he's got a lot that you can learn from when he talks, and that's somebody that I wanted to kind of, before I took the separate path. That's the man I wanted to image, because one of the things he told me was, look, if and I asked him too, I said, hey, I'm thinking of running for office, you have any advice? And he's like, yeah, just be everywhere. Be everywhere. That's the best advice I can give you. And he gave me the whole spiel on how, on his days back as city council days, and
Mhm.
man, that man knew how to pound pavement, and that's something I wanted to kind of mimic, and I kind of just strayed away. And I'm not gonna lie, I know I made some mistakes. I know there's some mistakes I made, and jumping to conclusions and going straight after, some of the city council members. But and I think one of my biggest mistakes is I kind of took things too personal, because these people that are in city council are people that I support, or and I'm gonna try to support no matter what, because they're the current city council and the mayor and city council. So, and I just need to not take things so personal, because it's like, it's that saying, never meet your heroes. It can never
Mhm.
be so true, man. Because
Yeah, yeah.
Monica Cruz.
It's human nature.
Yeah, Monica Cruz is somebody that I idolized. I wanted to be just like her. I loved how her campaign was, and when we, it just got more awkward from there as I was running. Just straight up cut out. No more text messages. No more help. No more helping with the speed bumps that I'm trying to get. And of course, after the election was over, she was there, and she just kind of just like shook my hand and said, "Okay, hi." Like, all right, move out of the way. I'm gonna take a picture with the new guy, with Mr. Garcia and and Billy Davis. I was like, okay, it's all good. No words of encouragement. No, like, hey, Ruben, hey, you did a good job. You can get him next time. Nothing. It was just like, there you go.
Ruthless,
Yeah,
that's what it
here's a
sounds like.
handshake. Okay, see you later. And I was like, okay, that's the never meet your heroes kind of thing. And before we get off, and I know we're going to change rules because I want to make this one about you because I know we talked about this and I know that you wanted an interview. I'm not going to continue making this about me anymore. But I want to say good things about our city council. That's just what I want to put out there. I want to say good things. I want to be positive. I'm not going to just start. I know people kept saying I was mudslinging. Like, I'm not. I know that's the word you use, but I know that's not what you're using towards me. But I noticed I've had some comments about me mudslinging. Like, mudslinging is a very harsh word. It's like trying to tear people's reputation down. I honestly don't think I've ever mudsling anybody. I just pointed out something I didn't like and I felt bad about it. And I just made it public. That's it. And if that counts as mudslinging, I apologize. That's not my intention. But again, that's where things kind of got personal for me, because again, these guys were all my heroes. The mayor, Monica Cruz. At one point, I wanted to interview Yolanda Ramon. When you just because you run for a political candidate doesn't mean you have to get shut out. You can still treat everybody the same. So I mean, look, my opponents won, my opponent won, and I took a picture with them and said, "Hey, congratulations!" And what was funny was that
How was that? Could you explain that one? How was that experience?
taking a picture with them, or
Yeah, well, the what was the after conversation like? I mean, I can't put myself in those shoes because I know whenever we would lose our baseball games, football games, lining up to shake hands afterwards was always uh, a bitter time for me. I will admit I was one of those kids that would spit on my batting gloves at the end and shake their hands, and whoever caught the saliva. Right?
yeah.
I'm an Aries. I'm a
Well,
competitive person.
they were good.
What was
They
that?
were good sports. I mean, I don't know. I know that I'm not gonna lie. I know Mr. Billy Davis gave me some shade at the end, but I mean, Mario Garcia was a good sport the whole time. I mean, he had already came to my tent. We talked about it, and he's like, you know what? Yeah, this is politics. We get it. But we just want to, from here on out, we'll just get along and stuff. And when he won, I went and I shook his. I didn't get in the way of his interview. I actually wanted to just to piss off the media, but I said, forget it. I waited and then I shook his hand. I told him in his ear, hey man, congratulations. You earned it. Hey, you start off with a name in my book. We'll be keeping an eye on you. Keep an eye on your establishment, and we'll see how. Hope you'll do some good things for Eagle Pass. That's and I stand by that. But if remember, like, and I tell everybody this, that the moment something looks bad or something's not getting done, I'm gonna say something about it. And I promised that I wasn't gonna blast it in public. I'll talk to them first about it, but if I get ignored and just get brushed off, I'm gonna make it public. It's just the
Yeah.
way it is. So and I took a picture with them. Uh, just because I want to be a public figure for Eagle Pass. I don't want to be the bitter person that got mad and just I ran and just screw it. Just not gonna be out anymore because here I am. I want to be that public figure that still is standing, that's still smiling, and that still wants to promote the small businesses and try to cover politics and hopefully I'll get to interview some of the politicians. I probably not after the race, so and that's okay.
Well, I don't know, man. I've been thinking about getting out of the politic game myself, so there's room for opportunity
Yeah,
there.
and you're right. I was so exhausted after that, and but I've had a lot of supporters that weren't in the open that I won't put out there, but they told me, you know what, you did great, but you can do better things, and you can serve without having to have a title, and they're all looking forward to it. So I'm not gonna let them down. I'm gonna keep going. Try to Yeah, and you're right. I am gonna try to steer away from the politics a little bit, um, but unless it's something that you know something that's very negative that needs to be pointed out, I'll point it out. But as far as that, I want to try to have an A with everybody in my book for now. All right, for now. So and we'll just leave it at that. So, but anyways, let's move on. Let's start switching it up here. Let's switch roles here a second. So we are here.
Switch the
We're
tempo up.
Yeah. Let's change the tempo. We are here. It is 10:30. We are mixing it
Margaritas
up
girl.
with Ruiz Beast Podcast and Now You Know Eagle Pass. Two hosts here, and I am here. I'm going to do a little interview on Mr. Isaak Ruiz, the host of.
I've never been on this side of the seat, so it's interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, okay. So he is the host of the Ruiz Beast Podcast and the editor in chief of the Maverick Times, and we are going to interview him today. Before I get started on my end, I am just going to do, and I hope you don't mind. I like to do. Well, before we get started, I know we have some comments. I don't know if you want to go over
Yeah,
those.
I don't know. Joey's. This is the third straight comment from Joey. I flashed him before, but I think Mr. Joey needs to be heard.
All right. It says politics has always been garbage. That's what they want, for you to look the other way so they can keep on doing the dirty work. You know what? Let's prove it. You know, that could be true. That couldn't be. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. But we're going to start fresh. All right, let's start fresh here, okay? Because we have a new councilman, we have a new, we got it's a new regime. Let's see how they do, and we can go from there. But before I get started, I like to do my small business of the day, and my small business of the day is Orly's Barbecue. Go on in if you guys want to have some fun, some family outing. Go on, head on over to Orly's Barbecue, where it is the home of the Buddy Deal, which includes brisket, ribs, sausage, half a chicken, two sides of your choice, and of course 2 32-ounce teas for $42.99. A nice, good meal for two. And of course, they got the new item, which is the brisket burrito, not the breakfast burrito, the brisket burrito. Also comes with a 16-ounce tea for $14.99. Head on over to Orly's Barbecue. Dare I say it's the best in town? We'll see for yourself, guys. All right, so Mr. Isaak Ruiz, thank you.
Could I do a quick shout
Yes,
out?
sir. Go for it.
Mini Market, margaritas to go. Hit them up. Different flavors, different sizes. Thank you, Minutes, for margaritas to go.
There you go. Always a pleasure to have a little liquid courage in a smoothie. So let's get started. And you know what? I've been contemplating interviewing you for a long time. I'm just going to be honest about that. And I was actually glad that you brought it up and said, "Hey, man, somebody needs to interview me." Well, here it is, man. This is the way to go. So I did think about some. I know I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for the interview, but I like to do things on the fly. So we can just get started. Let's talk about. Let's do a little origin story. All right. So Isaak Ruiz, how you've been born and raised in Eagle Pass, I assume. So let's
Yes.
talk about who is Isaak Ruiz.
Born and raised, great city of Eagle Pass, Texas. Love my city. There was a time where hashtag was do it for my city. I was born 1985. My father, Ricardo Ruiz, my mother, Dora Buenteo, both well known in the community, both families as well. My grandma and grandpa, they're no longer here with us, but they were well known. They were in the bingo circuit, so they were well known with the elderly. In my time, I remember I spent a lot of time in those bingo halls with them. Won a couple of games too, so we know we had good luck from the get go. Um, my father's side, we're a strong a Ruiz family, a big Ruiz family, as well as my Buenteo side of the family. Uh, Both families are big. The weird kind of correlation between both families is that one side of the family, the Buenteos, has one male uncle. The rest are all female. On our Ruiz side, it's all males and one female. So we have a weird situation where it's kind of a dominant female Buenteo family, dominant male Ruiz family. What I've noticed on our Greece side of the family is that the majority of the ones coming out from those males now are females. So that's a weird turn of events. Big shout out to my brother. He's a great influence on me. He's much older than I am. He's 9 years older than me. So I know a lot of most people get to fight with their brothers growing up and argue with their brothers growing up. Mine, he was a lot older than I was. So he always had that mentor role. I want to be like him. He was a big local football star here. He played a little college ball. He was a district MVP his senior year. The defense. He's a beast of a middle linebacker. That
All
guy.
right.
I
Break
remember
train.
I remember I would see him wrap his ankles when he was hurt and this and that. I would go get rain crap. I didn't even know what this crap was for, but I would wear it and everything, and it was just a funny thing, right? Being that he was so much older than I am, I do have cousins that are closer in age, and they vibe a lot different the way me and my brother did. And I think it's kind of a special type of thing. My father, he was a customs agent for many years, retired. My brother's been a customs agent as well, nearing that 20-year mark if he hasn't already passed it. Somewhere around there, he actually works. Loves his job and everything, just like my dad did. My mother, she's retired also from the federal government. God bless her. She worked at the Border Patrol. She worked with ICE. I'm not sure I'm supposed to mention all that. Not an agent, but support staff and everything. But most of my immediate family were involved in law enforcement background. Um, Coming up, me, I was always, as a younger person, I think I was very interactive, talkative, playful. The way you see me talk a lot. I talked a lot when I was a little kid. I understand how my mom suffered now that I have my kids. That man, I understand. It's a thing where I look at her and I hear my kids talking around us, and I just look at her like, yeah, I understand what you had to go through. I
Yep, we
understand.
got it. We share the pain. We end up inheriting the pain that our mothers and fathers went through. So I mean,
Mhm.
I went through the same thing, man. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. And going through high school, everything like that. I played football. I ran track. I played baseball for a couple of years as well. I always stuck with football. We played soccer. Growing up, we were into sports. Most of my Ruiz family, I was close to both sides of my family. But I stuck a lot with my Ruiz family because that's where most of the males that were in town were. I did have an older cousin, and I hope to get him on my podcast very soon. This guy, He's a vet from the army. He does
Okay.
trains Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
All right.
This guy used to play Super Nintendo with me at his house every day, and he went to the army, and I got a lot of respect for him. Just like I do with my brother, I hold my brother in a very high regard. As one of those persons that I would like to be like. And my cousin as well. He's a good guy, and has accomplished so much. I think that's the key there. Growing up, I played, like I said, different sports. I was a little, I guess you can say, a nerd. I graduated top 10%, ranked 55 out of 600 something in 2003. I pretty much went to the choice of my school in San Marcos. Got into a little trouble there. Had to come back to Eagle Pass. Um, had to find a job here. Struggled a little bit for that. Eventually, the thing was is that before I went to school, I did work with the city of Eagle Pass as a recreational assistant, seasonal. With the summer programs and everything. I was able to come back, start that again. I remember I even worked at Blockbuster for a while when it was here. It past the brief time that it was here.
I'd like to know where it
Uh,
was.
it was where the AT&T building is now.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah, we're across Pizza Hut
that makes sense.
by the mall. Yeah, that's where it used to be.
And before we continue, and I think that's the meat and potatoes right there. Your career with the city. So and I know I want to get to that before we do. If anybody's just tuning in, it is the Ruiz Beast Podcast here. I am a special guest host of Now You Know Eagle Pass. We are actually interviewing Mr. Isaak Ruiz today. So far, if anybody's just tuning in, big time family back in the day as a kid. Big time sports fanatic, super friendly. Eagle Pass High School, right?
Yes.
Okay. And
yeah, at that time there was only one school.
okay.
When I went to high school, there was only one school.
Oh yeah, of course.
So there was only one school. Like I said, we got a big family. Before me, we had, like I said, my brother. I had cousins that played baseball, soccer. I had cousins after me. Shout out to. He just announced that he's going to be having a baby very soon. My little cousin, um, Julio Cesar Ruiz. A big shout out to him. He was a quarterback for the Mavericks, man, and
big football family.
He was a special kid. Yeah, he was their quarterback. Did a lot of things for them. He announced recently he's having a baby, so congratulations to him. Big shout out to him. We love him. We love Pilo, my other cousin, his older brother. Just recently got married to him, so congratulations to Pilo Ruiz and Bianca Ruiz, his newlywed wife, and their kids and everything. But that was the family that I grew up with. I remember great times hanging out with my brother, my uncle Rolly, which is the father of Pilo and Julio Ruiz that I just mentioned right now. Great times, great times. He's also known, he was a former Little League American League president here with Eagle Pass with the baseball. A coach with the San Luis Cardinals in elementary, coaching the summer leagues and stuff like that. I helped him coach several leagues with my younger cousins as an assistant coach as well. Whenever I came back, we were getting into when I started working with the city. So I was just recently turned 21 years old.
I think that's the big question. So you big family. Your family name's already pretty much known out there. I think one of the biggest question is, so what started you on that path to working with the city? What I guess the question should be, what inspired you to get a city job? Was that something that you were looking forward to? Was that something that you had in mind as a kid? What made you want to get involved with the community and work for the city?
I will be honest, at that time, it was about finding work for me.
Okay.
It was about finding work, and it wasn't where they sat me down in a nice office or handed me a check. I worked outside. I was hired as a contract laborer. So what that is that I did not receive any benefits. I did not receive anything. I came in a program. I was paid no benefits other than I think workers comp, which is required in Texas. But other than that, it was a paycheck, and the program could end at any time. It could extend. If there were vacancies, they could make you a permanent employee, what have you. But by no means did I have a nice and cushy job. I
Yeah.
was a laborer coming in. I was a traffic service worker was my position.
Started at the bottom. Now we're
So
here. That's
yeah,
how it
I
goes.
mean that's how it was. 21 years old. I was, with a safety vest, a hard hat, what they like to call, a posera, barra, and I would dig holes. I would install stop signs. I would make the street signs. I was a traffic control service worker, so stripe streets, make street signs, stop signs you see, the yield signs. A lot of those signs I made myself along with my partner at the time. Rest in peace, Norberto Rodriguez. I learned a lot from him. He's no longer with us, but he was my partner at work for about a year that I was working out there. I was out there in 100-degree weather digging holes. I mean, it wasn't easy. And you're coming from a kid that was always taught to not rely on my hands to do work, rely on my brain. Don't do manual labor. Let your brain do your work to make money. And that's the way I was raised.
Of course. Yeah.
Um, so unfortunate events had me where I was at. So from there I just I think I lasted about a year, a little bit less than a year. Had an opportunity to become a permanent employee, got that, so I got benefits. And I think under a couple of months after that, I had a fortunate event for me, unfortunate for others. One of the secretaries decided that she no longer wanted to work with the city of Eagle Pass and decided to just give her notice.
Okay.
I heard wind of this. This is how it actually happened. I heard a wind of it. Didn't know if it was true. I approached the assistant public works director, and he knew who I was from as a little kid. Disclosure: my mother worked with the city of Eagle Pass, with the Eagle Pass Police Department, many years ago when I was maybe first, second grader. So that the old police department, I was up and down that those cells, those offices since I was a little kid. City Hall, I was up and down those halls when I was a 6 or 7 year old. Like those halls, whenever I got to walk them as an adult, as an employee, it was so uncanny how I would look at this place and thought it was so big, and it just kind of switched for me, right?
It was
But
like it was destined. It was almost like it was destined to be. You know.
and that's a topic also that we can talk about. But it kind of did. My mom there, she worked with PD for many years as a record supervisor. Moved over with the city as a receptionist. So, like I said, when I spent time at City Hall, I spent time probably more than any kid, did at City Hall as growing up as a kid. Because after, school program, whatever, they dropped me off there. I would go to the back to the break room. I remember finish my homework, whatever, whenever it was time. Then my mom got out, we would take off and leave. Like I have those memories, things that I ended up, getting coffee in that same place where I would do homework, or it was just a riot to me. But it lasted about a year. I got into is a clerical specialist position with the Public Works Department. From there, I was able to hop on as administrative assistant. And
Wow.
this is where another opportunity came in Meet the Road, where they were building the landfill out at the Maverick County landfill, the Solid Waste Authority. So there was an opportunity to apply for a position out there. Um, and I was contemplating it. I ended up not. A good friend of mine did. Shout out to him, a real good friend of mine. He knows who he is. Um, and God did what he did, and he ended up getting the job, and he's thriving and everything. God bless that. And then it opened up an opportunity with the city to me to take over as a public works supervisor, and that's where I really became uh, into myself and kind of blossomed as an employee supervisor there. Having been an assistant clerical specialist, I had one hell of a mentor, Mr. Hector Chavez. You know, God bless his soul, rest in peace. Recently passed away, and I think anybody that has had this man as a mentor can contest to his presence and the way his mind operated and the way this guy was dedicated to working. And I
Wow.
think that having him as a mentor completely changed the way I saw things. And I think, any chance I do have, I do always think that, he was around when I was there. Even though we did have our issues from time to time, and that's just me. But
Yeah.
it he gave me a perspective that I don't think I would not have gone anywhere had he not taken under his wing. And he wasn't the type of guy that would, hey, come here, this, that, the other. He would give you hints, but as a strong leader as he would lead by example. And I'm not gonna talk about his personal,
Yeah, of course.
things or anything, but this man was very impressive and dedicated to his work, and I was very impressed. This guy, of course, was not a licensed engineer by any means, but could run circles around Army Corps of Engineers like if it was nothing, and it was just you would see this guy and he was like somebody you wanted to be, and I give him, all the credit and the positive influences in my life other than him, but his mentorship really did skyrocket into what I'm able to do even now today and what I've been able to accomplish. So from that public works department, like I said, I did learn a lot. I parlayed that into working with the grants. Now, grants are worked different than they are with regular budget funds. They're budgeted different, they're categorized different, they're in different accounts because everything needs to be accounted for um,
It's a
and
big
scrutinized.
responsibility.
And scrutinized, unlike, I mean, yeah, of course, regular city finances do get scrutinized, but these people, there's another set of eyes, not just city employees or city auditors, right?
Right.
So I got into as the project supervisor there, taking care of the documentation for the grants, going out there, what machinery was being used, how much uh, does the FEMA rate go for this machinery, who's out there, what kind of skilled worker, are they getting paid as per Davis Bacon compliance, um, take tracking time of these, making sure what we're documenting, if we were taking care of a federal disaster the way we did with the tornado and a couple of years ago. I know it was on the April 24th. I'm a little bit shaky on the date, but I was out there documenting, the tons of debris taken out, having to measure that, calculate it. So from there,
Well, let me stop you real quick. So you were pretty much involved with this community ever since you were a little kid, man. Walking the halls of City Hall already. It was like you're betrothed. Betrothal means like it was meant to be. Like how back in the medieval times people from birth were just destined to
divine
get
right.
married.
Is it divine right or what is it called? Divine destiny or
I
something?
think it was. I think it was divine right. Yeah, it was like divine right. They were like people. Two people from birth were destined to get married. So I mean, this was. I mean, you had already been walking the halls as a kid. You've had plenty of mentors. You met some from by by what it seems like very amazing people that took you under their wing and just kind of molded you and just kind of prepared you for this greatness that's happening. Coming from, a contract labor to somebody who's got a big responsibility and who's going to be involved with the community and is that's some pretty big stuff, man. I don't that's not I didn't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the community that know you, of course, that knows everything that you've had. Yeah. And that's a big deal, man. And so that's why, like, I now we delve into the question. You've been the contract labor, you've done the supervisor thing, and now you've actually gotten to that point where you're a grant writer. That's like, that's all, if I'm not mistaken, that's like tippity top.
Well,
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say from there, from the public works department, like I said, I had this great mentor, this and that. I've always been the way you see me now. This is the way I've been since I was a kid. I question authority. If you can convince me, you can convince me. If you can't, you won't. It got to a point where I thought I held my water, my weight there at that department, which I don't toot my own horn. I think a lot of people can vouch for, what I was able to do there.
Yeah, no, of course. Should be able to toot your own horn.
So, there was a little bit of trouble. I got, me and him got into it, and I regret that's on me. That's on me. Young man growing up. I got changed to the finance department, which at the time we thought was the best thing that could happen. But I was actually there as a project analyst / fixed assets. So what I would do is take care of, the vehicles, make sure they're insured, make sure, our assets are insured, our assets are up to date with the insurance. I was tasked with some of the capital improvement program stuff. Ended up not really touching too much of that. That's actually what I would do before I left Public Works. Mr. Chavez had a big proposal of fixing the streets, and that's why you do see decent streets out here at the city. He passed it along to Mr. Jesse Sandoval, our current Public Works Director, who is following in Chavez's footsteps, which he should, and he's doing a great job at fixing the streets. But he came out with this big aggressive plan, and and I remember the times when at the time Councilman Luis Cifuentes was, well, I want to make sure the money is being done correctly. I want to make sure we're not overspending. Right. And 3 million, because we asked for about 1.8 for reconstruction and about 800,000 for maintenance the first year. And he was out there in meetings, and I kid you not, my reports were more up to date than the finance department was. Why? Because I did the purchases automatically. I would submit it to them. Mr. Chavez, this is why I tell you this guy was such a great mentor. He would make us have the budgets. We would track our own budgets. He said, I don't rely on finance. We have the up-to-date. We have the real life here. So the only time we would depend on finance was to send us the payroll version of it, because we already knew what we spent with the contractors, right? So every 2 weeks, whenever salaries would come out, all we do is, you bill that, and then each PO gets put in on a daily basis. So we had councilmen, come, whatever day you come, you got a real aspect of what was done, today on which streets, how much we've spent on each street, how much asphalt we've spent, how much oil we've spent, a breakdown of the total. If it was 100 feet by 23, 34, 32 inch, whatever, if we had to do a gutter, whether it was reconstruction, because we did have two separate plans, which was a reconstruction and then a maintenance one, right? So, these spreadsheets, that I maintain these. So it was to where a point where, Councilman Cifuentes, and I say him because he was an adamant one, and which that I understand. He's trying to make sure we're spending our money correctly, but It was like every Friday, at 5:30, we wait for him to get out of work or from school, and here you go. Here's a report. You have any questions? Well, why did this come? Well, it's because look, this is the percentages. Okay. Well, then why is it? Well, because if you break down this is what we've done today. These are the payroll we got from finance department. Oh, okay, okay. All right. Well, good job. There you go. So, and from there, like I said, we parlayed that. We went to the finance department. There was a lot of how do I say it? Trouble, friction. There was just a lot of things happening in that city hall when I got there that I just did not believe should be happening.
And before we get to that part, I just want to chime in and just so when you look at Isaak Ruiz, this is, I mean, by everything that you're describing, it's like you're the jack of all trades, man. You've done it all. So, for anybody that's watching, I mean, I'll say it straight up. I mean, there shouldn't be any doubt of your credibility, man. You've done all of that, and you've been through all of it. And you've worked with, some of the big times in the community. Luis Cifuentes was a big timer. He was the mayor. And you've worked with him since he was city council. That I don't think anybody should doubt your credibility at that point. But now I feel like we're starting to get towards the nitty gritty, because this is where it feels like something that, you, of course, when you do all these things, there is a bigger possibility that you're going to see something wrong, because you see everything.
Oh, of course. And I'll say it, because this faction still exists within the city of Eagle Pass environment, so to speak. So I'm at the finance department, and I'm there for a few years. I see a few things that are done incorrectly. Again, I said this a little bit earlier. Just the way you see me, that I call something out, I have always been like that. That is just a trait in me that, what do you want me to do? I call it out. They embarrassed an employee through an email thread. I think that was the first. There was always tension, but one of the things was that they embarrassed an employee through an email thread, and everybody received this email. So, I politely replied to it and said, how unprofessional that was, and that if they do it again, that there's a serious consideration that we need to sit down and fix that issue.
Right.
Because I don't think anybody should be, I guess it was kind of a form of accidental harassment. Because how are you going to talk shit about somebody on an email and then accidentally let it spread out?
Yeah, there's always policies. There's policies in every workplace about whether it's harassment or publicly putting out disciplinary actions or just making fools of people on a CC or to everyone that's getting the email. That's like public humiliation. There's always policies in place for that kind of thing.
No, absolutely. And I think the city of Eagle Pass wasn't at the place it needed to be with policy at the time. Much of the policy, I even tell you this, one of the clothing policies made there was especially written. They call this the Isaak Ruiz rule, is you cannot wear a cap if you work in the office.
They call that the Isaak Ruiz rule.
No, it's called the Isaak Ruiz rule because he was the only one that would wear caps on Fridays, because it's a Friday. And being the position I had, there is times I had to leave the office. So the Isaak Ruiz rule was put in on the final version of the new employee handbook. Final version. There's got to be 3 red versions. It was put in the final version. Nobody that has, that's designated as an office job or 75% or office job cannot wear a hat while inside, office, whatever. And everybody knew that was the Isaac rule.
Oh, okay.
Because I was the only one that would wear them there in the finance department.
Yeah.
Now, we had the current finance directors there, and it's not even talking shit. It's just saying the truth. I don't want to talk shit no more because it gets me in trouble. But I'm just saying the truth.
No, of
His dad
course.
was
Yeah.
the former fire chief. Now he's still working with the city as the emergency management coordinator. His mom worked with the police department, so he was the assistant finance director for the longest time. What a lot of people didn't know is that he was still getting a higher pay rate and at a different level because we didn't have that position vacant. Eventually, a lady, I believe she was from Laredo, Miss San Juanita. Oh, I forget her last name. She was such a lovely lady. We'll get into that
Yeah,
one
of
right
course.
now.
And before we
Uh,
do, just so you know, I know we've reached the hour mark, about 10 minutes over, and it's your show. We can go as long as you want to go, but I don't know if you wanted to do a part two, if you want to keep going. What do you think?
uh, I can keep going. I'm good.
Okay, perfect.
If you
So
can, I can.
yeah, of course, yeah, no worries. So that's again this, and we pointed this out. We're not trying to talk shit about people.
No, no,
This
no,
is
no.
this is trying to
That's
this is getting,
verifiable.
yeah, we're getting to know your experience, the communities, whoever doesn't know or whoever questions why Isaac Ruiz is the way Isaac Ruiz is. Well, we just heard that you've always been like that. You've always been the person that calls it like he sees it, and that's a trait that I've learned in Eagle Pass that not a lot of people have. Not a lot of people are willing to put that out.
Mm.
I think that if you had more people like that, I mean, it brings some balance into the community. You have to, and I honestly think that that's what some of the community doesn't understand, is that you really have to have somebody point out some of the negatives. It's like a battery. You don't, you got to have negative with a positive. And everyone's always saying, oh, well, Isaac is always negative. Well, you know what? Someone's got to point these things out. Someone's got to
Well,
point.
see, you do have a valid point, and I've heard that feedback. I've gotten that feedback many
Oh
times,
yeah,
and I'm a big believer of energy and stuff like that. So that's a great point as to why um, I think some people have commented. I don't know if people catch it, but the way we're kind of changing around how we do things and how we handle ourselves, and it's just evolution of a person, evolution of a business, and like how you said about the way you approach the political arena is you go through it, you experience, you find out what you do wrong, what you do right, you
exactly.
take them lessons learned and move forward, right? Now that's not to say I'm not the same person or that person is not,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, yeah, here or we can't get to that level again very easily. Maybe
exactly. That's
people
why I tell people,
switch,
if
but we're here to evolve as much as possible, right? And the experience I talked with the city, I know it was one that did leave me sour. I guess I'm kind of making it a little bit longer. There was a situation with the finance department where in a matter of 2 weeks, they wrote me up or documented me like 20 times. They had what I would call a highly questionable harassment search or a harassment investigation without telling me that I was being investigated for harassment. And that thing was stemming from me supposedly pushing a employee. Now, mind you, this is a woman who is half my size and is 3, 4 times skinnier than I am.
wow,
And somehow I pushed this woman. Nobody saw it. Nobody said they saw that. But what they put out there, and there was documents from the reason why I know was because I did request those public records, which are public records whenever a city employee writes any type of document.
Right.
We can request that. I did that. At the time, Mr. Hector Chavez, who happened to be my mentor, was the acting city manager and made the decision when I requested public records because the human resources director at the time did not want to release those records to me. They said, no, you cannot know what's going to happen. It's going to cause friction, this and that. And I go, well, I this is America.
Yeah.
I could stand against my accusers, man. I could see what they're writing about me. It's not anonymous. How are you
It's
going to write me up if I can't even see who's writing this about me? So eventually, I had to go through public records to get it. I got it, and it was everybody in the department. There was 10 of us, 11. So it was everybody in the department besides one person. That one person, I'm not going to name.
that's fine.
He's a male individual. This guy is a religious guy, spiritual guy. That guy would sit down with me in my office and would pray with me. And he was the only individual that was honest in his investigation because everybody else wrote, whatever they could come up with, whatever they could grasp. I swear to you, the paper trail's that thick.
Oh wow. Yeah, I don't doubt that one bit.
It was that thick. And of course, in my old fashion, I defended myself, and it was a 20-page research on this and that. But that's me because that's how I'm trained. But from there, it was a hostile work environment. Got sent over to the recycling department. I managed that for about a year. Picked that up. We were having presentations everywhere. This, and that. Then it gets to the text dot commercial lane expansion. So get this, they send one of our construction workers, rest in peace. He's no longer with us. He's no longer with us, but when he went to the training, he thought it was a little too much for him to worry about. So he goes up to our acting city manager at the time and just pretty much tells him, I don't want any part of this. I can't. I mean, if this happens, this, that, and the other. So our city manager at the time, is looking like, who else has this certification? We need somebody with this certification. And it's a text dot certification. It's a course you got to take because you're essentially the responsible person in charge for the projects. So you have to attend, every engineer meeting. You have to do inspections. You have to go through forms. You have to make sure the contractor's doing everything right. You have to go to text dot. I mean, it's a lot of intricacies within that role. So, hey, who else has that certification? They call me up. I'm at the recycling center. Hey, Isaac, stop by City Hall. I go by. Isaac, we're in a bind. We need your help. No problem. Just get it done. A couple of years later, you guys have a nice, awesome lane expansion that seems to be working out very well on Bridge 2. That little side rail where the trucks go through and get inspected. I was there every day when they were building it. The last 2 to 3 months, it was about a year and a couple of months. I believe it was 18 months of construction. I was there for the rest, except for maybe the last 3, where I handed it over to the bridge director. Once he caught up, he was a new bridge director. Once he caught up with the project, I went ahead and let him take point. I was still a responsible person in charge, but I did have other grants that I was taking care of. The light up downtown, those LED lights that you see on Main and Commercial. That was another project that I was the responsible person in charge, main point of contact with TxDOT. I was out there 9, 10 at night because that's the only time these guys could bore into the streets, into the sidewalks to run the cable for these LED lights. So I would have to be out there, taking time from my kids, from my family, which at the time they were just growing, to take care of these projects, right? Moving forward, they open up a grant administrator position. They put a placeholder, that's known there in the community for some time. Eventually, I get the position, grant administrator slash director, right? From laborer, from director, awesome story. We got that going for us. That's when we started getting into it and getting some money for the city, man. We were successful getting a fire truck from FEMA. That was a nationally competitive grant. That's what a lot of people don't realize is that cities, counties, and the entire nation applied for that grant, and we got funded 375,000. It's that brand new Sutphen fire truck with the Texas flag in front. If you see that one, 375,000 came from talking with the fire department, getting information together, showing the need that we needed here in Eagle Pass, a new fire truck. And as the last that I've been updated from the fire chief, nobody else in the history of the city of Eagle Pass has gotten that type of money for equipment from a federal, nationally wide competitive grant like that. So
a lot of good things done over the years that it's just like a big accomplishment. I'm already sensing the pyramid effect. All right. And when you reach the top of the pyramid, there's nowhere else to go but down, So now I want to ask a question. This is just a quick chime in. After everything that's happened, let's just hypothetically say this. If someone were to come, and we all know the persona of Isaak Ruiz and how, guy that'll point out if something's wrong, he's going to point it out no matter what. This might be just an obvious question, but if someone were to say, "Hey, Mr. Ruiz, if you want back in, we got this for you, but you got to do things this way." What would your response be to that?
Ooh, that's a hard pill to swallow. That's a good question, though. I think that what we've been able to establish in talking about what we do, obviously, there will be issues if I were to take up a position with a public entity and talk about that public entity directly. There was going to be issues where that jeopardizes my job. Um, I think that would probably be a good discussion to have, because on one hand, you can benefit the community by me being in there and making sure we're getting grant funding that that other grant people that or other people that apply for grants overlook or don't get, and that's where I do operate very well. Of course, I do know the state standard grants, the Texas CDBG grants, the stuff that we regularly get, right?
Right, very
But my
knowledgeable.
expertise was going out and looking for those and applying for those that you can't find, but I'll go ahead and find. And I think that's kind of a double-edged sword, but I like to think that with me, if I were to accept a job with any public entity, I think that would put the public entity kind of on notice already that, we're going to be doing things right. Why would you want to bring a person on that, is going to see something wrong, is going to say if something is wrong? I mean, they probably won't hire me to begin with.
Well,
um,
here's another nitty gritty question. And there's always opportunities with the county and with the city. The biggest thing is that again, and we're not here to talk shit, but it's just the truth. You got to know somebody to get in these positions, but you have such a big track record when it comes to working with the community. So let me ask this. Let's just say, if you sat down with Judge Ramsey, you think you think he would offer you a job, or you can try to work something out and just let him know that you could be a great asset to the community. You know, playing the role as, you know, someone that's gonna do good for the community with the experience that you have. Would that be something that's out of the question, or would that be something
I
possible?
mean, I can't talk about what can happen. I know that when he was our mayor for 10 years, I was with the city. So he directly himself saw what I was able to accomplish. I think when he entered as a councilman, and you're talking about a span of 10 plus the 2 years of councilman, right? Um, is around the time that I entered as an employee, as a laborer, and he saw where I was able to go from a laborer to a director, and a director to where they created the position of grant administrator, because the city wasn't aggressive with grants prior to someone like me coming around. The way you see I am aggressive with the news I do, maybe a little too aggressive at times, is the same exact way I am about grants. So, and I think that the future, I mean, we can't tell what it holds, but I think that he does have a very relevant, past history experience that nobody needs to tell him about. Or, I mean, I don't even have to turn in a resume, because he knows what I've been able to do
Exactly.
uh, directly. Yeah.
So, in a sense, like if there was an opportunity that was for you in the county, would you talk to him about it? Would you?
I mean, I wouldn't say I wouldn't be interested in it. Of course, I'd be interested in it. I One of the things that I like doing about grants is that I get to see my community benefit and my kids benefit from that. And one of the things, a great example of that is the Cruz Munoz gym. Many people may know, many people may not know. I was able to secure 800,000 towards the $2.2 million that it cost to build that gym, and it was 800,000, and it wasn't me by myself. But I prepared the grant, I wrote the grant, got everything together, the information, worked with the people that I needed to work with to complete this grant, and we were able to secure $800,000 towards a new facility that my daughter, my son, they get to go play basketball in there. And it's a joy being in there watching them play with something you directly, because you can go back to the city's videos and you see I come out with this big old goatee beard.
Yeah,
I was going I was, I was going through something in my 20s, right? But
I've seen some pictures
you
too,
see
man.
me,
I've seen some
yeah,
pictures of
you
you
see.
smiling, dude, and that's not something you see all the time. You don't.
Yeah, and we were able to get that, and that gives me, unfortunately, my name was supposed to be on the plaque that was there at the gym, but I did leave before the gym was completed.
Okay.
So
Well,
very nicely, they took my name out of that plaque. But I promise you, in the original plans, because I had to sign off on the original plans when I was there. A lot of us did. My name was on that plaque to begin with. They took it off after the fact. I was a little sad about that. I always thought that that'd be something my kids can, look at and be proud of their dad. But, by no means does it defeat the success that we were able to have, because there was a lot of work that went into that place, being where it was located. A former landfill, an area that was surrounded by gas stations. I had to actually take a course and do an environmental assessment, something that I had never done before, something that I had to study for, so the city of Eagle Pass could be able to acquire the property and do that project. That's a lot of stuff that gets, um, I guess, taken for granted, the back work that's done, and what we had to do to make things happen there. And I know things happened after I left, because I did not see the completion. And everything turned out good. Whoever was involved with that, thanks for finishing that out. Um, But from there, we were able to get a job with Del Rio. Del Rio was looking for us. They needed a grant writer. We helped them out for about a little less than a year. The opportunity with the sheriff popped up, and to be his grant director. Then this was during the Salcedo regime, actually, so that's kind of funny. But so we went ahead and did that, and we came back down. We did that for a while. Again, things were not being operated the way they should be. I was a grant writer for the sheriff's department. The county judge at the time, Mr. Judge Salcedo, needed help with one of his with his planning director, who was I guess taking classes in San Antonio and not really doing the planning director job, but she would still get paid a cell phone stipend.
Ooh.
And the reason I could say that is because I was sitting at her desk every afternoon, because they wanted me to do the grant job in the morning with the sheriff, and then in the afternoon to go do the job with the plan as the planning director. So I was like the acting planning director at the time. And it was fine. I never got compensated for both jobs. I didn't. And to me, I always looked at it as an opportunity to learn. So to me, it wasn't about getting the money right then and there. It was about what I'd be able to learn to use to get an increase later, or what have you, or use later. With the county, I was there about 6 or 7 months. That's as long as I could take our county judge, David Salcedo, back then. But in that short amount of time, we did secure $1 million for the self-help center, the Colonia Self-Help Center in Precinct 4, the Loma Bonita Self-Help Center. That's helping the colonias around in our Maverick County area. And those $1 million, I mean, the self-help center helps with tools, helps with training classes. The city had it for a while. Get this. So the city had the grant because during or right before Judge Salcedo took over as judge, they could not handle the grant anymore. So they were going to lose the money.
Oh,
so
man.
the city took over that grant. The city wrote the grant again. Hector Chavez was the one who went to go present it. Won the first initial $1 million. We took the grant over from the city. From the county. I'm sorry. So as the city's grant director or grant administrator, I actually handled that grant. So I knew the people. We worked together. We did as much as we could. The grant finished. My days there with the city finished before the grant finished, a couple of months after. So when I ended up coming back to the county, the grant time was up, but now the county wanted to get the grant and use the money.
Yeah.
But the city didn't want to let it go. So we actually went head to head, and I competed against 2 grant specialists and a whole finance department. And I did everything by myself with the county.
Wow.
And the county was the one who got the $1 million.
Oh.
We took the grant from them.
Wow. That is crazy.
I don't want to say I do. I don't want to say I did.
And you know what?
I took the grant from them.
There's nothing wrong with the proverbial tooting your own horn, man. Because, and unfortunately, we're starting to get somewhere, because we've already delved into the mind of Isaak Ruiz. We've delved into the history. We've delved into all the achievements that you've done. And I think that's something that's very important. And whoever's watching, take some notes, man, because I think people just see, Isaak Ruiz, the guy that's the rogue journalist that has no filter, that's ready to take down the political machine beast. But what people don't think about is that there's this side of you. And let me ask you this really quick, because I know my phone is at like 8%. So unfortunately, we're probably going to have to, I want to do a part 2, because this is getting interesting, man. No, definitely. I'm not going to leave you hanging on that. We're going to do a part 2. And, but let me ask you, how do you, this seems like this was something that you've been waiting to get out for a while, because you're not going to interview yourself. So how do you feel, man? How do you feel so far?
Oh no, I'm good. Actually, I have a whole host of other stuff that I'd rather talk about than what you know. I mean, I think we're just on the background
Oh yeah,
of everything. We're at the background of what came to be. I mean, there's so much other stuff that I'd rather talk about that uh, you know. But I do understand creating the background of the story is very relevant
yo, no, absolutely,
to reveal what the story, how the story is coming out now, right? But
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people knew what happened with the city, and there's a lot of stuff that particulars that I've skipped over as well that maybe should have gone. I was voted by my peers to be the grievance chair for a reason. So whenever directors overstep their bounds against employees, employees knew that I would stand up for them.
Yeah, the go-to guy.
Yeah, so they voted me in, and then they voted me as the chair. They voted me in the committee, then they voted me as the chair, and that was the employees of the city doing that. I mean, that was for a reason,
Yeah, of course,
you
man.
know.
Again, this is something good that people, again, whoever's watching, this is a history that's happened for. This is like, and it's still kind of history in the making, man. This is like we've seen this rise that you've had in the past. I know that people just kind of see you now and some people don't, but I'm just saying, you already know that you got the haters. You got the haters that just poking at you and just saying, well, don't listen to Isaac, and I think that's something that should not be overlooked, man. You've had so many accomplishments. Just kind of sitting here listening to your story, man. That's just something that everybody needs to listen to because we can all
No,
listen. We're all interested in listening about Ramsey's story. We're all interested in listening to Mayor Rolando's story, the city council story. We all hear about that. And sometimes we don't choose. I mean, we're not there to. I'm not saying it's kind of shoved down our throats, but that's just something that's going to automatically present into us. But this is something that you don't talk about normally, and it's good that the community knows that. Um, is there anything? So before we cap it, unfortunately, because I want to keep going, but my phone can't keep going.
no,
Otherwise,
no, we got it, we got it.
you know.
Um,
Um, but is there anything before we end the
I
part
would
one?
just say, I mean, I know you mentioned about how people perceive me at a current status right now as the rogue journalist, the unfiltered, this, that, and the other. I'm a strong believer of, I've read books, The Art of War, 48 Power Laws of Power. Is that you never want to really reveal who you are to the people that are out there, because once they get to know who you are, what your routine is, what your rhythms are, they're able to track you down, which is what you train yourself to learn the tendencies of any enemy, of any friend. And it's not anything to take advantage of, but it's something you use in defense of whenever you do get attacked. And unfortunately, we haven't had too many people taking attacks. We have, and we'll get that later on in the story, right?
Yeah, of course.
But one thing I do want to mention is that I know a lot of people try to brand people as crazy. You got Kanye West, being branded this. You got certain people, and the first play that they're gonna go to is this person's crazy, this person's that, this person's this. And what I would say, just to that, because you brought it up, is that I think that you should never let anybody really know what is going on inside, what you're planning, what you're doing. um, we're all actors here in this planet, in this realm, in this universe. We gotta act, and sometimes it's not in each of our best interest to reveal our cards. Like if we're playing poker, you don't want everybody to know those those two cards you dealt on Texas Hold'em, right?
Right,
You
yeah.
just don't want to show 'em. And I think I've been pretty good at doing that with my what people perceive to be erratic, what people perceive to be outcast, outrageous, too much, this and that. And I think we're keeping people unsettled, and I think that that's what they're uncomfortable, and I like keeping people uncomfortable.
And you know what? And you get those people, and I've heard it running as a candidate. I've heard it that this kind of stuff is bad for the community. I highly disagree. I disagree because the people that say that are the people that want that to be bad for the community. They don't want, they don't want the balance for the community. They want to keep things. And I'm not saying any names, so I don't need any more angry politicians. They want to keep they want to keep it that way. That's their way of life, and if we just come and chime in, it's automatically bad just because we want to point out something that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That I truly believe, and you know what, and I believe that there's too much negativity is bad, obviously, but you know what, when you got too much, I can't say positivity, man, because that there's always something behind things that we think is positive, and there's a negative behind it, but people just don't want to show it. And when it's people like you and people like me who point it out, we get vilified. So
You see the thing that people tend to forget is that no matter what we do, there's always a negative and a positive to everything. I mean, that's going down to the very laws of nature. Atoms have a negative charge, atoms have a positive charge. uh, you get negative thoughts, you get positive thoughts, and that's the duality that is life, that you do have the negative and with the positive. But the thing is not to block out either one, but being able to filter into something where you are able to connect with the values that you feel, because a house divided cannot stand. So whatever your values are, whether it be what I'm speaking, whatever it be Ruben speaking, whatever values that you value in life, whether they are contrary to my own, I say, go be happy and make sure your house is not divided, because that's the worst thing you can have in this world, is where you have two split, a mind that is split. You're never going to get anywhere. You know what I mean?
yeah, you can't have
And
one without the other. Just
yeah,
like
and the negative and positive, it all exists within us. It is one and the same. If you get into Taoist, if you get into Buddhism, karma it's not nor negative nor positive. It's just energy. But
yeah,
energy always needs to balance it out, because that's just the natural law of energy.
good words, man.
And yeah,
That's good words to
well,
take, man. Hey, people need to
that's a
take that.
couple of more episodes down.
Yeah, of course. So I'm out of time, but before we get off, anything you want to say to well, I know there's only 3 viewers,
No,
but
hey, thank you for hosting. I appreciate that, man. We hope this gets spread. We'll do some little cut ups. I know we had some strong messages headed out, so I appreciate you hosting, and can't wait to part two.
absolutely, man. And if anybody who's just joining in, we're on the Ruiz Beast Podcast. I am a special guest who decided to change the roles up a little bit, host, and let's ask the host and interview the host and delve into the mind of the host. So we entered Isaak Reese. Anybody who wants to watch, you can go back. You can listen to the history. There will be a part 2. It's getting good. I mean, it's already been good, but it's gonna get. Something tells me it's gonna get spicy, as we always.
Mhm.
When we listen to Isaak, it's always gonna be spicy. So we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. But thanks for everybody that's listening. Isaak, thanks for having me on here. This is great. Having a little late night Miller time, margarita time, and we'll do
Yeah.
the part 2, man, for sure.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you very
Of
much.
course, brother.
We'll catch you part
Yes,
two.
sir. All right, everybody, have a good night.
All right.
Isaak, have a good night. Thanks for having me, and we'll Catch you later. Now you know,
Ruiz Beast
guys.
Podcast Part 2 coming up.
All right.